Muy buenas tardes ya a todos, con las horas que somos. En primer lugar, queremos dar las gracias a la Fundación Tres Culturas por la organización de este foro, a todo el personal que ha contribuido durante estos días a la organización de esta cita, que es especialmente oportuna en un momento en que la situación geopolítica en todo el Mediterráneo es especialmente delicada y en donde además se da la circunstancia de que los mediterráneos no somos actores activos en el panorama internacional de la gran decisión. Los parlamentos anteriores han sido de alguna forma emotivos. Yo estaba escuchando a Andrea Zulay y a Miguel Ángel Moratinos en un foro de periodistas. Yo soy periodista y estaba con Andreu Claret y con Tomás Alcobero, personas con amplia experiencia en la cobertura de noticias en Oriente Próximo y en el Magreb. Y escuchábamos y seguíamos los parlamentos con una carga emocional intensa, porque aquí también en Tres Culturas, años atrás, Tres Culturas ha sido siempre una cita de personas interesadas en la promoción de una paz real en Oriente Próximo y en el Magreb. Aquí mismo, años atrás, había una atmósfera de alegría, de esperanza. Esa atmósfera de alguna forma se ha diluido y nosotros comentábamos, mientras escuchábamos los parlamentos, cómo en el tono de las palabras, en el tono del discurso, había que hacer un diagnóstico real de la situación. Y el diagnóstico real es que la esperanza ha desaparecido. Pero justamente estos foros que cuestan tanto esfuerzo económico y humano de poder confluir, sirven también para rescatar un espíritu que, por ejemplo, en los escritos de nuestros invitados podrán escuchar. Es recuperar el espíritu de la fe en el trabajo conjunto para poder restablecer una esperanza para los pueblos que están sufriendo en este momento. Por tanto, muchísimas gracias a todos los que han hecho posible con su esfuerzo este trabajo. Ciertamente, para aquellos que seguimos la actualidad en la zona, tenemos delante un mapa absolutamente desgajado. Los gobiernos neoconservadores en los últimos tiempos han hecho una cartografía del desastre sin la intervención de los factores locales en el Mediterráneo. Y lo cierto es que la Unión Europea tiene, como muy bien decía Miguel Ángel Moratinos hace un momento, un inmenso reto por delante para intentar restablecer el valor de la acción diplomática. Entonces, abrimos con esta mesa también el debate directo, durante un seminario que durará 2 días, con el análisis del estado de la cuestión, un análisis que, cuando hablamos de Oriente Próximo, tiene que pasar de forma inevitable por la gran cuestión del conflicto entre Israel y Palestina. Un conflicto que dura ya más de 68 años, pero que sigue sin resolverse y es la herida abierta por la cual supura todo el dolor que ahora mismo se ha extendido en Oriente Próximo. Nosotros vamos a afrontar esta discusión inicial con 2 personas de una talla individual y política indiscutible, como son Yossi Beilin, gracias por venir, y Talia Sasson. Gracias, Talia. Son 2 personalidades israelíes, son 2 de las caras más conocidas y activas en el campo de la paz. La pregunta que pueden hacerse todos ustedes es ¿por qué no hay palestinos? La organización cursó invitación asimismo a Yasser Abdelrabo, el exministro palestino, y también a Hannah Ashrawi, que es la portavoz de la OLP y presidenta también de Miftah, una organización que trabaja por la defensa de la paz en Palestina, ambos palestinos, pero da la casualidad de que este foro coincide directamente con el Congreso de Fatah y Yasser Abdelrabo ha excusado su asistencia a 3 días del inicio de este foro, un momento en el cual es difícil maniobrar para cubrir estas bajas. En todo caso, la perspectiva de este debate, como os digo, es para intentar abrir una confrontación de ideas sobre qué se puede hacer para colocar nuevamente en el centro de la discusión el conflicto entre Israel y Palestina. La guerra de Siria, que entra pronto ya en su 6º año, en marzo se cumple 6 años, ha tenido una consecuencia mediática directa y es la desaparición en la agenda mediática y, por tanto, también en la agenda política de la cuestión entre Israel y Palestina. Entonces, es momento también de abrir esa discusión cuando se produce el cambio en la administración norteamericana. El trabajo del presidente Obama ha sido muy crítico en su acción internacional, en sus políticas diseñadas para Oriente Próximo, pero las primeras declaraciones y declaraciones de intenciones efectuadas por el nuevo inquilino de la Casa Blanca, Trump, tampoco son muy esperanzadoras. Entro ya, si les parece, a una pequeña introducción que va a ser de presentación, pero va a ser también, como les digo, de extracción de las ideas principales para que conozcamos un poco más allá de la trascendencia política, la trascendencia moral y filosófica de nuestros dos invitados. En primer lugar, tenemos a Yossi Beilin, es un buen conocido de todos aquellos que estudiamos el conflicto entre Israel y Palestina, fue parlamentario en la Knesset y exministro de Justicia, dirigente del partido Meretz, que es un partido muy activo en la promoción del campo de la paz. Yossi Beilin también es una figura especialmente interesante en esta mesa porque ha estado involucrado en todos los intentos de encontrar una paz o una solución al conflicto, en los acuerdos de Oslo, desde luego en el año 1993 y de manera muchísimo más visible en la iniciativa de Ginebra, que fue, digamos, el último gran momento de esperanza. Yo le comentaba a Yossi Beilin a la entrada que me llamó mucho la atención un artículo que ha escrito hace días atrás cuando se produjo la muerte de Shimon Peres, figura con la que él tuvo desencuentros políticos, diferencias en la hora de enfocar la gestión del proyecto de paz con los palestinos, pero se trata de un texto con un profundo respeto político. Entraremos más profundamente en el desarrollo de estas ideas. Después tenemos también a Talia Sasson, muy conocida también en el campo de la paz. Ella ahora es la presidenta de New Israel Fund. En 2009 fue también candidata a la Knesset por Meretz, el mismo partido de Yossi Beilin. Es docente en la Universidad de Tel Aviv con un curso que tiene un título significativo, Defendiendo la democracia israelí por la ley. Es también una persona, lo comentábamos al principio, con un peso específico y singular, porque una cuestión es defender la paz desde el campo del activismo y otra cuestión es defender el proyecto de paz cuando se está dentro de la administración. Entonces, Talia Sasson cobró gran relevancia internacional por la elaboración de un informe, el informe Sasson, que recogía los establecimientos de los embriones de asentamientos, los outposts que se llaman, que son esas pequeñas caravanas que se ponen de manera ilegal y que después constituyen asentamientos. Ha representado al Gobierno de Israel ante la Corte Suprema 13 años en casos administrativos, constitucionales, criminales y es autora, también aquí en este caso su artículo tiene una significación importante, es autora de un artículo que se llama En el filo del abismo. ¿Es la victoria de los asentamientos el final de la democracia israelí? Esta es una pequeña presentación muy simbólica y ya, si le parece, señor Beilin, le damos la palabra, 20 minutos para hacer una primera intervención, después continuará y después abriremos el turno para las intervenciones del público. Adelante, señor Beilin.
Thank you very much, and I would like really to thank the CULTURAS Institute for having us here and talking about the issue. I was really inspired by the last two interventions of my friends Andrea Zulay and Miguel Moratinos. I appreciate that you are ready to dedicate your time and energies to the conflict resolution while so many others have given up on us, and you didn't. I must admit that inviting a veteran politician to analyze what went wrong in a political process is a very bad choice. Mainly because what we are doing, even unintentionally, is when we are describing the things which were wrong, we usually do not see ourselves. So we are not included in the picture of the wrongdoings. And while if you are inviting an historian or somebody who is an expert and who can objectively and coldly analyze the situation, it is much easier for him or for her not only to refer to the circumstances, but also to the players. This is the main reason why I do not want to dwell for too long on the issue of what went wrong. I think that each of us has his or her own explanation for what went wrong. What we can see today is that there are other developments in our region which are overshadowing the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This is beyond any debate. And that when the world is dealing with the wave of refugees and with the suffering of the people in Aleppo, and with the fight in Iraq against ISIS and the fight in Syria against ISIS, and you see on TV the suffering of the children and the old people and the destruction which is going on every day, it is very difficult to say that the main issue on the agenda is the Israeli-Palestinian problem and the refugees from 48. This is objectively true. Subjectively, of course, it is wrong. Because, I mean, the suffering is suffering. The occupation is the occupation. The settlement are the settlements. Nothing changed. But proportionately, you cannot attribute or allocate the same kind of energy and enthusiasm referring to our conflict and the non-resolution of the conflict when you have such problems on the agenda, problems that we don't know how to solve. At least on the Israeli-Palestinian problem, we have solutions. We have the Clinton parameters, we have the Geneva parameters, we know more or less the basis, two-state solution based on 67, maybe some territorial changes, some symbolic solution and financial solution for the refugees, the end of settlement. I mean, we know what is the solution by now. We didn't know it 20 years ago or 25 years ago, as lucid as we know it now. But we know that there is a solution. But when you speak about Syria, we don't know. We don't know. Confederation, federation, nothing. Fighting the regime, supporting the regime. You can imagine that now the major question about, in this context, about Trump is whether he will fight Assad or support Assad. Back to square one. I mean, we have no idea what is going to happen. And this is why it is so difficult to speak today about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, almost artificial. Now, if you add to it the other facts, the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin, which in my humble view had a very destructive impact. I don't want to say that it killed the peace process. This is nonsense. Nothing can kill the peace process. But the negative impact was much beyond my worst nightmares. I really believe that you can kill the prime minister, but you cannot kill the idea, the spirit, the wish to solve the problem. And I think that at least for the last 20-odd years, the murderer knew what he did. He achieved a lot. And then the rising of the right-wing government in Israel, which is not ready to pay the price for peace. Speaking about two-state solution, but doing nothing in order to achieve it, and actually doing whatever it can in order to more or less keep the status quo with some modifications here and there. And the situation in Palestine, which we cannot ignore too. The endless fight since 2007 between Hamas and Fatah. And the hatred between them is even bigger than the hatred towards Israel. So it is already overshadowing the need to find the solution. And the accusations about corruption and other things, which I believe the clearest point was when Salam Fayyad, the former prime minister, was ousted. Salam Fayyad is a very honest person. The whole world admired his honesty and his readiness to fight against corruption and to endanger himself. And once he was welcome to resign, if I may say so, and found himself under investigation of money laundering, it was a very, very tragic joke. I mean, almost impossible to understand. So there are problems on the Palestinian side, and you see what is happening today with the most important news from the 7th Congress of the Fatah is about the competitory conference which is planned to be convened by Dahlan against Abu Mazen as a reaction to the maybe success of the current conference. And the world doesn't know exactly what to do, whether to support an old leader who is committed to peace, but very weak, with a cloud of corruption, or somebody else who is fighting him and younger than him, and it is becoming an internal issue which is, again, like all internal conflicts, they are more important than the conflicts between the group and the other groups. So, and especially when you have the threat of ISIS and the problem of Iran, you see that many of the Arab countries feel easier to talk to Israel, not because they love Israel, but because they want to defend themselves, than to deal with the issue of the Palestinians and the Israelis. The result is that it is easy for the world to say, okay, let us put it on the back burner. Let us leave it for the time being. The solution for the two-state solution is not relevant right now. Maybe in the future, in the time being, there is nothing to do. Let's wait for Trump. Let's wait for the successor of Abu Mazen. Let's wait for a more moderate government in Israel. For the time being, you can do nothing. Which is, of course, something that those who are in the region, they are paying the price. The occupied people and the occupiers, they are both paying the price. Cannot accept. So the question is whether something can be done now, right now, as we speak, the end of November 2016. And here, I would like to refer to three main points. The first point is what can be done by January the 20th. I don't know enough about the readiness of President Obama to be involved in anything until the end of his term. I'm sure that he is frustrated, like many of us, that despite of his wish to deal with the issue, he did not achieve anything. Anything. And the involvement of Secretary Kerry, the 9 months of 2013-2014, was a big, big failure, which added to the frustration that nothing can happen. I don't think that he can do much now one thought about new parameters as the UN resolution, maybe a resolution about settlements in the UN without an American veto. I'm not against any of them. I believe that the very reasonable one, the decision which will not be easily pushed aside by Trump, because he can dismiss parameters. He can dismiss a resolution about settlements. He already said that the settlements are not the problem, which is very, very problematic. You know, first of all, for us, for the people in Israel who are fighting settlements, if the American president is saying settlements are not a problem, we are the obvious traitors. How can we fight them? But that is another problem. I think that a resolution which accepts the Palestinian state as a member of the UN will be a very important one. And once it is accepted by the UN, no American president can renege on it. It will not change the world. It will not create a Palestinian state because it is virtual. But it will be very important for the mood in Palestine, for the feeling in Palestine that things can be done. And the Palestinians will be invited to all the international organizations with all the ramifications of that. So if I'm asked about one shot, one thing that the Americans can do besides the general vision of peace between people and whatever, this is a decision which may be initiated by the Europeans or European countries and will not have a veto of the Americans before the 20th of January. So this is the first thing. The second thing, if President Trump is ready to move, and following what he said, he is very much interested, almost as a businessman, to prove to the world and to himself that he can solve something that all of us failed to do. And I hope that he is right. So I'm asking myself, what can be done just by such involvement? And the answer that I'm having is that the quartet took a decision in 2002 to have the roadmap. The roadmap is getting to permanent agreement between Israel and the Palestinians in 3 years, between 2002 and June 2005, by 3 steps. The second step is a Palestinian state in provisional borders. Now, both sides accepted the roadmap. The Palestinians without any reservation. Israel under Sharon added 14 reservations. All of them were dismissed by Bush the son. It became a UN Security Council resolution by consensus. So it is not something new that somebody is now inventing. Take the decision that both sides agree to it. Take the decision which was initiated by the quartet and go for the second phase and have a Palestinian state tomorrow, in few months, in 3 months. Put an end to the unneeded debate whether a one state can be viable or not. There is no solution of one state. Even if we all here agree that one state is the best solution because we are all equal, we are all human beings, and we should love each other and have the same state. No way, no way. People like us, like me, will never agree to something like that. And many Palestinians will be against it. I mean, they have the right for self-determination. Why to involve them with us? Why should we find the same self-determination in the same place? So, you put an end to the debate. The only negotiations are on the issue of the provisional borders and security measures, which are not too difficult. You can have borders on something like 60% of the West Bank. And then you begin the negotiations on the permanent solution between the two governments, according to the roadmap. I think that the biggest mistake of Kerry was not to try to have this, and rather than that, to believe that between Abu Mazen and Bibi Netanyahu, he is going to have a permanent agreement. Regretfully, no chance right now. Maybe in the future, when both of them will be younger, there is a chance. For the time being, one is not ready to pay the price, and another cannot deliver. Abu Mazen cannot deliver Gaza. It is very obvious. So even if people like me are the prime minister tomorrow, I will sign an agreement with Abu Mazen if he is ready, but it will be implemented only in the West Bank. So what I suggest is to go to the second phase, but then to involve the Arab League and to see what the Arab states can contribute as part of the Arab Initiative, which is one of the most important decisions in the Arab world since 48 or 47. And Israel was stupid to dismiss it or to reject it. So an interim for a short while of, let us say, 3-4 years. By now we know that it is short. And involvement of the Arab world in some actions during the interim period, like it was in 93, 94, when we had semi-diplomatic relations with many Arab countries, and all of them, almost all of them, stopped it under Netanyahu. And the third idea refers to the vision. So many things happened since Oslo. So many things happened since our informal Geneva initiative. To repeat today the same songs just because we were involved and we need to defend ourselves will be a mistake. I believe that the way to get to the two-state solution is to do it through an Israeli-Palestinian confederation. Confederation of two independent states which will have many areas together, from water to environment to agriculture, but not only that. It should also involve the issue of security, because a world in which organizations like ISIS or Al-Qaeda are searching for weak places in our region cannot allow an independent Palestinian state which is non-militarized. It is a new phenomenon. We did not think about how can we tackle such a problem. Imagine that we achieved what we wanted, and we agree to the parameters of Clinton or Geneva, and we have a non-militarized Palestinian state. For ISIS, this will be the next target, because it is non-militarized. So here we have to rethink about how can we secure the Palestinian state. And I think that if it is a confederation, the Palestinians will agree to see Israel as part of its umbrella. As you may know, it will not be the first Arab country which is benefiting for such an umbrella. And I believe also that it can solve the issue of the refugees and the settlers. If the settlers are allowed to be Palestinian residents but Israeli citizens, and if more or less the same number of Palestinians will be allowed to be Palestinian citizens and Israeli residents, you can solve, besides the financial issue and the compensations to the refugees, you can solve in a new way both the refugee problem, which is the most thorny issue, and the settlements, which are very, very difficult for any Israeli prime minister in the present or in the future to dismantle. So I believe that we must think about new ideas. If the Confederation is not the best one, maybe there is another one. But we have to know, our club of people who are repeating the issue of the two-state solution as such, as it is part of the Quran or the Bible, are looked at as if we are telling the young generation an old story. And they are asking us, do you have something new? And we say, no, the two-state solution. We need a new idea, not only in order to solve it better, but also to rekindle the light so that people will be ready to fight for something. There is a majority in Palestine, a majority in Israel for the two-state solution. But what can we do with this majority if they are passive, they are not ready to go to the streets, they are not going to fight for it, they are not going to really try and pay the price for it because they don't believe that it is doable? Thank you very much.
Gracias, Yossi Beilin, por estas palabras. Después entraremos al debate en algunos puntos importantes de su discurso. Damos la palabra ahora a Talia Sasson. Adelante, por favor.
Thank you very much for inviting me here, and thank you for listening. I would like to talk about Israel from the civil society perspective concerning peace issues and human rights. As you were told, I'm the chair of the board of New Israel Fund, which is a partnership that started 37 years ago between Jews from America with Israelis. The idea was to collect money in the United States from Jews there and bring the money to Israel to build a civil society. Through the years, the New Israel Fund brought to Israel more than $300 million. We supported more than 900 NGOs, non-governmental organizations, non-profit organizations, in Israel in a wide range of issues that they are dealing with, of gender issues or equality issues between Arabs and Jews, shared society, Palestinian society, human rights of Palestinians in the West Bank, human rights of everyone in Israel, gays and lesbians, and whatever you name it. Our policy, from a policy point of view, is a two-state solution that I just heard. This is an old story, which I don't accept. I believe in two-state solution, and I believe in separation between Israel and the Palestinian in the West Bank. I, of course, support a Palestinian state in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. But if it's impossible to achieve that, then I support separation, that Israel will withdraw from the West Bank and try to solve the security problem by security and not by settlements. I would like to talk, to say a few words about to bring to you the feeling, as much as I can, to be a representative of many Israelis in Israel, maybe these voices that you don't hear every day, anyhow, not from our current government. Well, Israelis are desperate of achieving peace. If you're talking with Israelis about peace, people would say, you're naive. They're naive. You can't achieve any peace agreement with Palestinians. First of all, there is no partner in the other side. most of Israelis see themselves as if, although we are Jews in Israel, we are the majority in Israel, we feel ourselves as if we are the minority. And how come? Look at the region. We are really the minority in the region. You have the feeling that everyone would like to kill you. And the Israeli population for decades, 70 years almost, are exposed to violence, and we have to admit it, and it's every day something happens. There's no dull moment there. There is instability in the region. I don't need to add more things, you know that. And there is a basic fear of Israelis. We are, in a way, if I could describe that, we are all psychologically Holocaust survivors. And this is something that you could say, well, it happened 70 years ago. What are you raising it now when things happening in Syria and you see a horrible, horrible things that happening to people? Yes, but if you want to understand the Israelis, this is something that is there. And you need, if you want to push the Israeli population, public discourse towards peace, you have to take care of that. I believe that the majority of Israelis want peace. And they're even ready to pay the price for that. And they know that the price is the territory in the West Bank. They know that. They just would tell you, we don't believe that it can be achieved. Now let's look at the Palestinians. What about them? The Palestinians, they feel that in the other side there's no partner. I can't deny that. This partner, so-called, is building in the West Bank more and more and more and more settlements. What does it mean? They eat the territory that needs to be the Palestinians' territory. So their feeling is justified from my perspective. And they're exposed to Israeli military control for 50 years. Do you imagine that? Just to open your door and whom you see there. They can't control their lives. They have no parliament. They can't vote to anything. So what about their lives? How they look? And from their perspective, there's no partner on the other side. I myself believe that both sides are right about that. There's no partner, not here and not there, for the current time. But peace is so crucial for the state of Israel to be achieved. It's our interest to achieve peace. First of all, I believe that peace is the best security you could give to people. And there's another thing that's extremely important for the state of Israel. Peace and democracy are connected. And that's why, because the continuation of the occupation in the West Bank is a very harming situation for democracy. Democracy is based on equality. How could you teach and educate your young generations, young, they're old already, 50 years, that here we have a democracy while there are two kinds of people. One has all the rights that a person in a democratic state has, and the other side has none. So this is something that it's your own democracy. And if Israel would lose its democracy character, we would lose, in my opinion, our identity and legitimacy as the homeland of the Jewish people. So these are the two main principles that the State of Israel was based on, and they are declared in the Declaration of Independence of the State of Israel from 1948. And therefore, I believe that peace is crucial to achieve to Israel, and we have to defend our democracy, and those fights are connected. Now, this is just a start of analyzing what's going on there. I believe that the bottom line is known here. There's no news with what I said, just the details. The question is what to do. And this is extremely difficult thing to say, what to do, when you have a government that don't want to achieve peace because they know what the price would be and they don't want to pay it. The price is the territory. They don't want to give up the territory, right? And the other side, as Yossi, my colleague, described just now, is there's no leadership there. There's no election, no control of their people. I don't want to get into that, but it's very difficult. With whom are you going to make this peace? So I think there are a few issues that I just could suggest to you just to think about. First of all, about the Israelis. How to support Israelis and to push them towards peace. That peace is achievable, that peace is a good thing. First of all, acknowledge their problems. The Israelis are afraid. Make a difference between government policy and the state of Israel. The policy of the government, in my opinion, is not a good one. Not for the state of Israel, not for others. But the state of Israel, give the Israelis the feeling that you support them, that you understand their fears, that you acknowledge the fact that any solution that needs to be achieved has to take under consideration their fears and to give it an answer. Another thing is to look at the civil society, yours and ours, and maybe some partnership between civil societies, and to emphasize the importance of democracy. Democracy is not only the rule of the majority. Democracy, it means human rights, defense of human rights, civil rights, rule of law, independent judiciary, and the rights of the minorities. These are the elements of democracy, and they need to be secured. And I think that it's extremely important to emphasize that it's important for my state, Israel, to remain a democracy. Another thing that we could do is to speak to our people, to our civil society, about the right to security and peace, that to achieve security, the best thing is peace. They don't understand that. Many of them don't accept that. But I think that this idea needs to be developed. And another thing is that I would suggest is to promote women. Well, I'm interested in that. Promote women to security and policy matters. I look here around, I see very few women. Push women to those places. They can do good for our cause. The bottom line that I would like to say is that situation today in the world is very difficult, as you all know. In the region, in the United States and Europe, about democracies, where the policies are going, nobody knows exactly. It seems not a good news for us. But in my opinion, I would take every change in circumstances, even for the worst, to try to turn it around to the other side and make some benefit of that. Thank you.
Gracias, Talia Sasson. Yo he estado tomando muchísimas notas a las que añadir, a las que ya tomé y tomo habitualmente como periodista, para retratar el universo de ideas de nuestros dos invitados. Creo que en esta mesa en la que hay ausencia física palestina no podemos dejar de poner encima de la mesa el retrato de la situación bajo la ocupación de los palestinos. Yo misma he escrito un libro que se llama Palestinos, que es sencillamente el retrato de la vida de los palestinos bajo ocupación. Aquí veo dos perspectivas diferentes a la hora de repensar un modelo de paz desde la perspectiva israelí. Bien saben muchos de ustedes que siguen la evolución del conflicto y la evolución discursiva del conflicto, los intentos para buscar cómo algunas veces surge el debate sobre el Estado único, debate utópico para las dos partes del conflicto, para muchas personas israelíes y palestinas, pero aquí en la mesa hay dos posiciones que de entrada plantean diferencias. Por una parte, Yossi Beilin se ha mostrado, lo ha dicho claramente, partidario de una confederación en una primera instancia. Incluso en algunos de los escritos que he leído de él hace referencia a unas palabras textuales del ex primer ministro Ehud Barak, que decía: ellos aquí y nosotros aquí. Entonces, retomando esa idea por oposición, definitivamente Yossi Beilin ha diseñado una posible idea de la perspectiva de una confederación entre israelíes y palestinos. Por parte de Talia Sasson, la diferencia es importante. Ella misma lo ha matizado en su discurso. Ella es partidaria de la solución de los dos estados. Entonces, antes de pasar al debate general, creo que es justo poner sobre la mesa algunas cuestiones clave. La primera, desde sus perspectivas, ¿cuál sería la solución para los millones de palestinos que esperan una solución después de 60 años? Ese tema es importante. ¿Qué idea del retorno figura en sus proyectos de solución desde la paz? ¿Qué idea también de restitución? Porque la restitución y la compensación ha de estar presente también en los pactos de paz. Y después hay una cuestión importante, la cuestión del interlocutor en la otra parte. Ambos se han referido a las dificultades de la parte de encontrar un partner en la parte palestina. La pregunta es, traslado la pregunta también que hacen muchos dirigentes palestinos: ¿qué partner encuentran los palestinos en Israel con un gobierno, el gobierno Netanyahu, que directamente es muy cerrado? En Europa, desde luego, sorprende, no sorprende porque también está en la línea de la conducta electoral europea, sorprende que, a pesar de que, y eso soy testigo, hay una parte significativa de la población israelí que quiere la paz, pero los procesos electorales apartan de la representación institucional a los promotores de soluciones por la paz, por lo menos a personas del perfil de Yossi Beilin y de Talia Sasson. Dejo aquí estas pequeñas cuestiones para el debate de nuestros dos invitados, para matizar esas intervenciones y después, si les parece, damos paso a las intervenciones. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. About the issue of the confederation, I see it as the best way, perhaps, to get to the two-state solution. I believe that the two-state solution is the most reasonable one. I don't dismiss unilateral decisions, but only as the last resort. As long as we can speak to the other side, and there is really no reason why we want to speak to the other side. We speak to many Palestinians. We are having many kind of relationships with them, including economic relationships. And we are close to many of them. And I think that we should have discussions and we should talk about confederation, because the artificial division of the land, such a small area, as you all know, we are speaking about something like 5,000 square kilometers. It is nothing compared to Spain, compared to so many other countries, even small countries. So the division is very artificial. And if you can delineate a border between, and should delineate a border so that every people will know where is its sovereignty. It will not be a one-state solution, far from that. There won't be a joint government. I don't suggest a joint leadership or joint ministries. What I'm saying is that a confederation might be the way in which two independent sovereign countries can work together. regretfully, there is no current example for a confederation in the world. No one. There were in the past, there were not big success stories, I admit. If there is a confederation today, it is not called a confederation, and this is the EU. And the EU today is in a crisis, I don't have to tell you. Still, in my view, the EU is one of the biggest miracles of our generation. And I think that something against such an example can be done. I'm not speaking about a European Parliament in our region. I'm speaking about two separated states, but there are so many things that we should do together. And as I told you, in my view, and this is the change that happened to me, the security issue should be referred to. I cannot just stick to my own slogan, two states, Israel and Palestine, which is demilitarized or non-militarized anymore. I cannot repeat it anymore, although the Palestinians do not want to be militarized. You should know that. They don't want to be militarized. But we should be worried about a situation whereby we totally leave the West Bank and there is no army there. We must answer this question. So it is not a confederation which is giving up on the identity of two different states and the two-state solution. I stick to the two-state solution. I'm only saying that this is the way to get there. The second thing about a partner, and I'm very glad that you raised this question because this is the main question. Whom are you going to talk to? To Bibi? To Abu Mazen? Give me a break. You know, I remember Yoshka Fischer, after talking to Sharon and Arafat about 100 years ago, at the end of the day, he came to the Dan Hotel in Tel Aviv, put his feet on the table there, totally exhausted. And I said to him, Yoshka, what are you saying? What was it? He said, Yossi, I beg you, call me again when Arafat and Sharon are not around. So now I can call him, and I do from time to time, I must admit, because he's a very clever person. But the new Yoshka Fischer will tell me, call me again when Bibi and Abu Mazen are not around. And I think that it is wrong. So what is the question in my view? Partner for what? We were able to finish the job, in my humble view, maybe I'm totally wrong, in '93. Had we been courageous enough to get to the permanent agreement in September '93, rather to have an interim agreement for 5 years? And maybe one should talk about it, but not now. Now, today, since you don't have partners for a permanent agreement, I think that you can see in Netanyahu a potential partner. I'm not sure about it, but talking about it with him, I think that it is not impossible to go for something like the second phase of the roadmap. A provisional state, a state with provisional borders. The same goes with Abu Mazen. Abu Mazen hates interim agreements because he is afraid that it will become permanent. Of course, I understand him. But hey, you have an interim agreement since '93, which became a permanent. So at least have a state. At least have wider borders. At least have a legacy. You are going to leave the arena without nothing? You can leave the arena with a Palestinian state, which will change a lot and will end, as I said before, the argument about whether or not we are speaking a Palestinian state, about a two-state solution. Now, I think that for this, we have two partners. Abu Mazen
is a real partner with all the deficiencies, with all the problems that he is having. He is still committed to peace and believes in peace. And Netanyahu, who is speaking about the two-state solution, who changed his mind about many things, and who has a support in the center-right, I think that they can get to something which is interim or gradual or whatever, provided they have a vision, even a general one, in order to get there in few years. And this is why it is not the question of, do we have a partner or don't we have a partner? If this is the question, we don't. But if the question is, what for are we having a partner? What can be achieved with the current leaderships? And my belief that giving up on them totally will be a big mistake, which in a way may play into their hands, especially the hands of Netanyahu. If the whole world says, okay, like Yoshka in the past, call me when Sharon and Arafat are not around, then he now is an intermission. No pressure, nothing. Nobody is demanding him anything because they know that there is no chance with him to get to anything. So he can do whatever he wants. If the world comes, as you did today, and say, we don't give up on the idea, we want to talk about it, we want to see what are you ready to do, and what are you ready to do, and then to push the envelope a little bit. We won't make out of Abu Mazen the Arafat, and we are not going to make out of Bibi Rabin. No chance. But we can move a little bit, or more than a little bit, with both of them, if we are doing it in the right way.
Thank you very much, Ms. Galia.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say why I believe in the two-state solution, although maybe there is no partner to have the other state. I understand that, and in some circumstances I accept that. But first of all, I want to say why I'm stuck to this idea. I believe that Israelis, Jews Israelis, would ever, never accept one-state solution. Not a state as you understand the state. Maybe the current situation when the Palestinian people, 3 million Palestinians in the West Bank, that they have no rights, this is something Israelis could accept. They won't accept that those people would vote to the Knesset, because in one day they might lose their majority. They are not dreaming of giving them the right to vote to the Knesset, in my opinion. And therefore, when we are speaking about one-state solution, there's no solution. This is the current situation, something that a person who believes in democracy can't accept. I think that without political change in Israel, I don't believe that something would happen. I think that Bibi Netanyahu proved what he wants to achieve. I think that the only thing that matters to him is remaining in his seat and continue the current situation, which is no status quo. Don't misunderstand that. It's continuation of the building in the West Bank all the time. So things are changing for the worst. I believe that Israel is a strong part between when we are looking at Israelis and Palestinians. We are a state, we're established, we have our institutes. This is not the situation in Palestine, so-called West Bank. And I believe that Israel never, or I won't say never, but in the last 20 years, Israel never gave to the Palestinian a real chance to achieve peace agreement with Israel. I think that we did a lot for the current situation where the Palestinians are separated, fighting with each other, There's Hamas, there is PLO, they can't have any reconciliation, whatever. It's not that we're ashamed of all this. We're not to be blamed of all this, but I believe that we had our contribution to the current situation. And therefore, if I was a prime minister of Israel, and as I told you, my belief is only a political change in Israel could bring a start of a new situation, I would have given a chance for a specific period of time by month to negotiations with Palestinians. And coming to that bona fide, I know what I want to achieve. I know this is for the benefit of the state of Israel, that I'm very much convinced in that. And I'm ready to talk about it. If the other side can't do that, and maybe this is the situation, then I'll continue to the next step. And the next step, in my opinion, is separation. If I believe in two-state solution, Israel and Palestinian, one next to another. If Palestinians can't build their own state, it doesn't mean that the state of Israel is doomed to continue the current situation with the West Bank by military control. I think that we should then make a plan, start to think where to bring those settlers that we have to remove from the other side, not all of them, of course, not all of them, but a part of them, to Israel, and to think where the so-called border would remain, very close to the green lines. I don't want to be there. I don't believe that this is the right thing to do, because I believe in consent and agreement with the other side, but I am not ready for my people to continue the current situation forever and ever because Palestinian side can't make business with us. And so this is my belief. Yossi Beilin spoke about a confederation. Confederation, he means two entities that will have some cooperation between them. If we could achieve a cooperation with the other side, if we could talk with the other side about one entity, the second entity, what will be the cooperation, what will be the separation, why can't we achieve peace agreement about two-state solutions? So I don't see us in that position talking with Palestinians about confederation. It's much easier to talk about separation, and then if there are, I'm sure that if there will be a Palestinian state, we'll have to have a lot of things to do together. So I don't think this is a realistic thing. And when you are talking about a partner for what? I understand that. I really don't know what is waiting for us in the other side. I believe that they don't know either. And I think that we should give them a chance with a date. You could do that or you can't. The last thing that I would like to say is when I'm talking about separation, bring Israelis from the West Bank back to Israel, more or less. I'm not saying that the West Bank will remain without the IDF. Israel can't leave the area before an agreement with the other side that can control militarily the area. We can't expose the people of Israel not to missiles and not to all the other things that we know that the other side produce. And there will be, even there will be a peace agreement, there will always be. Or maybe we could reduce the flames, but there will be from both sides. So we have to be prepared for that.
Thanks, sir, for the questions.
La pregunta es para los dos y es la siguiente. Vamos a ver, está claro que después de los horrores que están ocurriendo, sobre todo en el Levante árabe, Israel, todo el mundo lo dice, está ganando, porque la situación y las circunstancias han cambiado horriblemente Y entonces el tema famoso de la obsesión de la seguridad de Israel en parte puede estar afectado, pero en parte también, cuando ven lo que está ocurriendo alrededor, Israel puede sentirse en este momento, quiero decir, el Estado de Israel, no únicamente los gobiernos, mucho más seguros, no tienen ninguna necesidad, ninguna urgencia de llegar a ningún acuerdo con los palestinos. De esto ya se ha hablado aquí con ustedes, lo han explicado muy bien. Entonces yo recuerdo, por ejemplo, que al principio de la rebelión en la plaza del Tahrir en el Cairo, la gente se extrañaba mucho. Oye, por vez primera no se queman ni banderas de Israel ni banderas de Estados Unidos. Entonces, la pregunta concretamente es, yo creo que lamentablemente la situación horrible que ocurre en los países árabes, por una parte, tiene que tranquilizar a Israel, porque ve evidentemente que el problema de seguridad o que los árabes ya se han dado cuenta, lo que se decía durante mucho tiempo, que los primeros enemigos no eran los israelíes, sino sus propias clases dirigentes, y por esto me gustaría que opinaran sobre si realmente esta situación significa un triunfo para Israel o si verdaderamente no lo ven así.
Would you like to answer the question? Or do you... I didn't understand. No?
The question is what kind of a victory? I mean, you are right that it is, in the Arab world today, Israel is a little bit less of the bad guy. And Iran may be all their own regimes. And I'm reading articles in different Arab papers. And in some of them you see very interesting sentences, like we use the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in order to explain why there is no democracy, why there are no human rights in our states. We said that we cannot afford it as long as we have the big fight with Israel, but it was nonsense. We did not have human rights and we did not have democracy because we did not have it and because our regimes did not want us to live in democracy and use this as a pretext. So you see a development which is interesting. Even the fact that these articles are being published is very interesting. But the main point is those Israelis who say, you see, we are not the problem. There is no problem. I mean, it is not because of us. They have their own problems. Are proving something which has nothing to do with our problem. I mean, our real problem, as Tali referred to before, is an internal problem. I mean, if we are speaking about the issue of self-determination, of the right of Jews, who are most of them survivors or second generation to survivors, to have their own asylum in this world, a Jewish democratic state, and a state for all its citizens, then the problem is not the Palestinian problem for us. It is the Jewish problem. And governments which are not referring to it and are just saying, you see, the Arabs are bad, the Palestinians are bad, we cannot talk to them, are not actually saying anything about the demographic problem, which is not, God forbid, a racist issue or whatever. This is the question of the future of the Israeli democracy, and we may lose it. And the point of the arguments of the right is that when they are asked, so what is going to happen to the Israeli democracy? They don't have an answer. They don't have an answer. They may say, yeah, the statistics is wrong. Some of the Palestinians we count twice. Really, some of them are saying it, that there is no demographic problem. But in reality, when they are faced with this problem, which is the major problem, they don't have an answer. This is why people like Talia and myself are saying we would like to have an Israeli state which is democratic, which lives in peace with its neighbors, and which is open for Jews from all over the world. This is our Zionist dream. And I know that the word Zionist seems to many Arabs as a curse, but not for us. Now, as a result of it, if there is no solution, we will do it unilaterally, no question. As we supported the withdrawal of Sharon from Gaza, which was a mistake politically, because he should have done it through negotiations with Abu Mazen. But when it came to the decision, I was the one who gave Sharon the majority in the Knesset to withdraw from Gaza, although I hated the idea. Okay? I was the one. With 6 members of Knesset, we gave him the majority. Without us, he would have failed. That's it, a fact. And it will happen in the future. If an Israeli prime minister from the right will decide that he doesn't have a partner and he wants to withdraw unilaterally, we will say it is a mistake not to negotiate, but we will support you. And this is why the whole notion, the new notion of many people in the right, hey, there is no problem, the Arabs love us, they know that we are much better than the Iranians or their own regimes or whatever. Look at the Palestinians, they are having debates between Dahlan and Abu Mazen, they are fighting all the time, Hamas and Fatah. There is no solution, no problem, we don't have a partner, hurrah! But what are we going to do with ourselves? And this is the main question, and this is why the situation now in the Arab world, the soul-searching, the sayings that it is not necessarily Israel who should be blamed for it, may be nice to read for us, but it doesn't solve our problem.
I would like to add to this a few things. First, I agree with Yossi about this issue. The conflict between Israelis and Palestinians has 2 components. One is terrorist activity, and the other, which is much more important in my opinion, is the main basic principles of the State of Israel that are in danger. And the other thing that those basic principles that are in danger, this is something that we don't have an answer to that without withdrawal from the West Bank. We don't have an answer to that. If you want, you could call it a demographic problem. If you want, you could call it a democratic problem because of the values that the people are educated on are not equality. But you could, whatever you look at it, we can't go on and call ourselves democracy. And therefore, those 2 components need to get an answer by us, Israelis, no matter what Arab state would think about that. And something else that I just want to add to this, there is terrorist activity all the time. And terrorist activity only the last year came from Jerusalem, what is called East Jerusalem, that are 28 villages that were annexed to the State of Israel in 1967, and we call that East Jerusalem, where in my opinion, the international law should be applied there, and Israel applied its own law there. So, and they are not citizens of the State of Israel, they are only residents. They can't vote to the Knesset, they can't control their lives, and they're not ready to continue with the situation. So you can't control them, you can't. And this terrorist activity has to get a solution. And without separation, there won't be a solution.
Vamos a hacer una cosa, como hay varias palabras, si les parece, vamos a agruparlas en 3 o 4 intervenciones para que luego la respuesta sea conjunta y después, si hay más, hacemos otro pack de, por ejemplo, 4. La primera pregunta, vamos a intentar hacer un esfuerzo de concisión, era usted, después usted segundo, tercero y cuarto y quinto por detrás, ¿vale? Bueno, vamos haciéndolas porque hay muchísimas. Vamos a hacer un pequeño esfuerzo de concisión, las recogemos todas y después hacemos una respuesta conjunta. Y si hay más, hacemos otra tanda, ¿vale? Adelante, por favor.
¿Hago la pregunta en español o en inglés?
Español, mejor. Tienen traducción.
Whatever.
Okay. Quería preguntar algo sobre el papel de Estados Unidos en el proceso de paz. porque Yossi Beilin dijo que en el mandato de Obama no se había conseguido nada, pero se acordó otra vez ayuda militar al Estado de Israel. Y creo que el papel de Estados Unidos como apoyo a Israel es un factor en el conflicto. Y quiero saber si en vez de hacer apoyo incondicional a Israel, si ese apoyo fuera condicional en un avance en el proceso de paz, si se podría conseguir algo.
Muy bien, vamos a hacer rápida la ronda. La segunda cuestión era usted. ¿Usted? Tercera usted.
Ahora
Ahora.
ya me han dado. Miguel Ángel Moratinos ha recordado varias efemérides. Ayer hubiera cumplido 80 años Jürgen Holtz, que fue ministro de Exteriores de Noruega, que do you want me to speak in English? Oh, there's no translation from this micro?
¿No hay traducción?
Por lo visto. Sí. Decía, Holtz hubiera cumplido ayer 80 años, que acompañó el proceso de Oslo. El proceso de Oslo, 3 meses antes, yo estuve con Rabin y cuando alguien le preguntó por qué no reconoce usted al pueblo palestino, a la OLP, dijo, because they are terrorists. Pero a los 3 meses estaban cerrando los acuerdos de Oslo que Yossi Beilin nos decía debieran haber sido interinos en su periodo interino y después convertirse en acuerdos permanentes. Pero a partir de ahí vivimos casi una década con un momentum de clima de que se avanzaba, de que los dividendos de la paz estaban al alcance de la mano. ¿Existe ese clima, ese momentum ahora en la sociedad israelí, en el palestino, en la comunidad internacional? No parece que exista. Y finalmente, ¿existen posibilidades, podría acompañar iniciativas del tipo de track to diplomacy, sociedad civil, etcétera, etcétera?
Muy bien, gracias. Bueno, tercero o cuarto, da igual. Y después.
Sí, buenas tardes. Sentimos mucho la ausencia de los representantes palestinos, que ellos saben mejor cómo viven ahí el conflicto. Primero quiero dar las gracias al señor Ríos y a la señora Natalia, que ambos reconocen que la situación es dramática ahí, sobre todo para los palestinos, y ambos coinciden que el conflicto o la solución de la paz, el precio es el territorio, de una manera o de otra el territorio, aunque normalmente el conflicto es mucho más mayor que eso, el conflicto digamos económico, político, racial, religioso, pero ambos coinciden que el precio de la paz es el territorio. El señor Yossi dice que usted allí y nosotros aquí, señora Talia también dice que el precio es el territorio. Vale, cuando hablamos del territorio, ¿de cuál hablamos? ¿De los territorios ahora que hay, que los 10 metros cuadrados donde viven los palestinos, o del territorio del 1967? Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Ya que estamos territorialmente allí, otra pregunta más por aquí. Después nos quedaba usted.
Hola, buenos días a todos. Soy palestino, nací en un pueblo de Jerusalén del 48 ocupado por Israel, al que sigo perteneciendo, aunque Israel me niega a acercarme a esa tierra, a mi casa, o recuperarnos nuestra tierra y de nuestro derecho a Israel. Yo pregunto por qué un judío en todo el mundo tiene derecho a retorno a Israel y los palestinos que estamos viviendo en la frontera de Siria, Líbano y Palestina, no viendo nuestras casas, las luces de los pueblos judíos donde vivíamos nosotros, no podemos llegar a ella y volver a ella. Señor Beilin, por dinero no se pierde una patria. Tú lo puedes vender su casa donde está viviendo a cambio de dinero. a uno que te considera que es un enemigo o te ha quitado tu casa, respóndame a esto. Ustedes tienen doble lenguaje. Lenguaje dirigido a la gente, a la opinión mundial, ¿vale? Pacífico, todo lo que queráis, y un lenguaje que dirige a los palestinos y a los países árabes. A los países árabes les dicen que nosotros los podemos destruir a todos. No tenéis miedo. ¿Por qué tenéis miedo? Si sois la fuerza más grande de la zona. El lenguaje a los palestinos, señor Bled, mientras que tú mandabas ahí, ministro de Justicia, ustedes usurparon tierras palestinas, echaron familias de sus casas, echaron a humillarnos y arrodillarnos, entraban por la noche mezclando el arroz con las lentejas, con la familia y los niños muertos de miedo ahí pegando a sus padres, a su madre delante. ¿Usted ha denunciado esto? ¿Vale? Este punto, en la represión no ha hablado de represión, tienen doble lenguaje. Pero el lenguaje que ustedes dirigen a los palestinos, ¿cómo os van a querer los palestinos? ¿Cómo van a convivir con vosotros? Si estáis en las cárceles o esa es la detención administrativa, a cualquiera no le gusta su cara, le meten 6 meses prorrogables, sin juicio, sin abogado, con los niños, detienen los niños sin sus abogados, sin acompañarse de su madre o de su padre, y empiezan a tratarle como un adulto y tal. Ese punto, hablan ustedes de cómo comportáis con los palestinos. Si quieren ganar, tienen que comportarse como humanos, nos tratan como humanos y como iguales. Si no, de otra forma, no pueden ganarnos. En cuanto a falta de locutor, ustedes siempre tienen cortina de humo para seguir colonizando Palestina y para seguir ahí y hasta que desaparezca el pueblo palestino. Cuando habéis entrado, parte del sionismo, pues dijo que vamos a expulsar todos los palestinos de Cisjordania, entre ellos Sharon, que llegó a ser presidente de Israel. En el gobierno de Netanyahu hay más de extrema derecha que no quieren ni la solución de 2 estados ni la solución de un estado. No quieren solución. ¿Qué soluciones quieren ustedes? Que diga el gobierno de Israel qué soluciones y que lo ponga a los palestinos. Palestinos tenemos una autoridad palestina que es reconocida mundialmente y puede negociar. Y ha negociado. Si dicen que Abu Mazen no representa y Arafat no representa, ¿por qué os reunéis con Abu Mazen? ¿Por qué reunéis en las reuniones de Taba, en las reuniones de Oslo, en las reuniones de Kerry? ¿Por qué? Y luego dices que no tenéis un interlocutor. Por favor, usted se considera de izquierda, pero la izquierda, entre la izquierda y la derecha en Israel, y tenéis unas líneas comunes. Acabar con la presencia física de palestinos en Palestina. No han hecho minoría en nuestra tierra. En Cisjordania ahora somos minoría. Habéis sembrado aquello de asentamientos de colonos. Vaya usted, déte una vuelta. Usted es ministro de Justicia y sabe que la ciudad de Palestina es un gueto, rodeado de asentamientos al salir a entrar. Hay más que 200 checkpoints en Palestina, señor Bled. Yo llevo 52 años en España. Yo soy español, mi familia es española. Cuando voy no nos quieren ni de visita, señor Bled. Ni de visita, 6-7 horas en el aeropuerto. Y luego cuando queremos preguntar, por favor, ¿qué pasa? Estamos muertos de hambre, de sueño, con niños chicos. Nos salen 4 o 5 empleados a empujarnos fuera. Shut up, go out. Y ese trato. Y si habla más, va a estar a esperar más, como los niños chicos. ¿Cómo ese trato a gente que no somos fichados, ni no somos pacíficos, queremos la paz? Mi pueblo palestino quiere la paz, pero ustedes no dan ni una oportunidad, ni un proyecto serio para negociar. Jamás lo han creado ustedes. Igual que Al-Qaeda lo ha creado la CIA americana. Y ahora, pues, bueno, ha salido el tiro por la culata. Jamás es contra vosotros. ¿El problema qué? ¿El problema Abbas? ¿El problema de la cultura de Palestina? Y siempre tenéis una excusa para no negociar. Con Kerry, y hasta Kerry dijo que vosotros no sois serios en las negociaciones. No sois serios, no queríais. Siempre sacáis un tema, ahora el Estado judío completamente al 100% judío y tal, para expulsar a los palestinos que viven con vosotros, que forman entre el 15 y el 20% de la población. Por favor, ¿cómo que los palestinos que están dentro de Israel están comportando democráticamente? Van a votar, aunque les ponen vegas para votar, como Netanyahu decía esto, como los animales o cosas tal, van a votar. Entonces, si los palestinos se comportan y aceptan la democracia, los 20% de Palestina, ¿por qué no quieren un Estado único? ¿Por qué? ¿Quieren un Estado racista? Como Trump y como otros, como la extrema derecha en Europa. Ustedes han empezado por hacer un Estado democrático, le llama a usted. Usted no puede llamar a Israel Estado democrático. Es la extrema derecha que está ahí diciendo, un ministro dice matar a las mujeres palestinas, el otro un rabino que la han nombrado hace poco para ser el asesor espiritual del ejército que dijo que matar a los palestinos. Por favor, señor Blade, esto no es la paz que queréis.
Gracias por la descripción de la realidad. Vamos a dar un poco más. Está hecho un retrato de la...
Oslo la habéis acabado vosotros, Oslo la habéis acabado ustedes, al matar a Rabin, el mensajero, y ahora al matar a Arafat, que entraron con buena voluntad para hacer la paz, pero vosotros habéis matado a Rabin. Y han puesto un gobierno de extrema derecha ahí que ha estado perdiendo el tiempo y mareando la perdiz hasta que no hay solución. Los palestinos no tienen representante.
Muy bien, muchas gracias por ese testimonio que va acompañado de una parte final, una pregunta muy interesante, el por qué no hay una aceptación política del proyecto del Estado único. Vamos a intentar hacer... Sí. Sí, hemos dado al principio de la mesa la explicación de la ausencia palestina en esta mesa, que no era la intención de la organización porque hubo dos invitaciones oficiales a la representación palestina. Lamentablemente no están aquí. Vamos a continuar, por favor, un esfuerzo de síntesis en las preguntas para que luego puedan recoger todos los puntos importantes. Queda también pendiente la respuesta a cuál sería la solución ideal para el destino de los refugiados palestinos. Pregunta que añadimos a la lista. Siguiente creo que era usted y después usted, ¿vale? Venga.
Well, firstly, if we're going to have a forum, it's important to ask a direct question so we can hear each other and not long comments that I think, by the way, does a disgrace to what we're trying to achieve here, listening to each other. So to be very pragmatic, I really enjoyed both of your talks, and I'd like you to develop this notion of the urgency before January 20th and what could concretely be done and what might be holding Obama back. We know that he's been reticent to engage in foreign policy. He's seen it as a pitfall. What can actually be done in terms of, for example, the UN resolution or maybe some establishment of facts on the ground and developing that thought, whether unilaterally or with EU partners, to seize these next 2 months? Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Sí, pues muchas gracias por su intervención. Yo no voy a repetir que la ausencia de Palestina en la mesa redonda ya ha quedado aclarado. Solo que, como antes en las dos intervenciones, sobre todo en la intervención del señor sí, se ha recalcado mucho sobre la falta de un interlocutor. Y yo digo que en 2011 se llegó a un pacto de reconciliación entre Hamas y Fatah que ha sido denunciado y rechazado por Israel, y ha llegado incluso el primer ministro a declarar que Abbas o Abu Mazen ha elegido Hamas y ha rechazado la paz. O sea, ¿hasta qué medida Israel quiere realmente que haya un solo interlocutor? Porque se llegó a formar un gobierno de unidad palestina, pero ha sido muy criticado por Israel, y el ministro de Finanzas ha quitado la transferencia de fondos que iba dirigida en su momento a Palestina como un chantaje para que no se haga ese pacto de reconciliación. Entonces, se ve que una vez que se llega al pacto de reconciliación a tener un solo interlocutor, lo rechaza Israel para decir que no podemos llegar a la paz porque no tenemos un solo interlocutor. Y una vez que se llega, se rechaza otra vez. Así que parece que estamos en un círculo de que es una sola excusa para no llegar a un acuerdo de paz con Palestina. Y otra cosa que a mí me gustaría es, si hablamos de concepto de paz, como ya tenemos Hamas, como para Israel son terroristas y desde Hamas no reconocen a Israel. Entonces, ¿cuál sería la solución de esos dos discursos? Si vosotros no reconocéis a Hamas como parte del pueblo o del Estado de Palestina y ellos tampoco se reconocen, entonces estamos sin salida. Y Hamas pone como una condición de paz es reconocer a un Estado de Palestina independiente, soberano en Cisjordania y en la Banda de Gaza y como Jerusalén, como capital Jerusalén, sin renunciar a ninguna parte del territorio antes del 67 y con declaración del derecho de retorno. Me gustaría que piensa de eso, de esa condición. Gracias.
Muy bien, gracias. ¿Alguna cuestión más? ¿La suya? ¿Alguna más queda pendiente? La hacemos un pack y después, si nos queda tiempo, los organizadores nos dejan. Continuamos. Adelante, por favor.
Sí, hola, buenos días. Gracias por su intervención. Yo voy a ser muy sintético. Simplemente tengo dos preguntas relacionadas. En primer lugar, ¿cuál es su opinión de la iniciativa francesa de convocar una conferencia internacional de paz y de los esfuerzos que está realizando Francia, impulsados por el embajador Pierre Vimou? Si creen que pueden llegar a buen puerto. Y en segundo lugar, relacionada con la pregunta anterior, si creen que la Unión Europea, tras las elecciones en Estados Unidos, puede jugar un nuevo liderazgo en el acompañamiento de los esfuerzos por la paz en Israel y en Palestina. Gracias.
Muy bien, muchas gracias. Vamos a afrontar esta primera tanda de cuestiones que son la muestra de cuántos aspectos quedan pendientes de integrar en el debate político internacional para definitivamente vislumbrar alguna posibilidad de un proyecto de paz serio. Vamos a recapitular las cuestiones que ustedes han planteado. Primera cuestión, el papel de Estados Unidos, especialmente cuando se recuerda la ayuda militar, como ha comentado nuestro compañero, que Estados Unidos ha facilitado cada vez en mayor cantidad al Estado de Israel. Segunda cuestión, si la sociedad israelí tiene actualmente un momento para afrontar lo que es un proceso como pudo haber sido el proceso de Oslo. Tercera cuestión, ¿de qué territorio estamos hablando cuando estamos hablando de que los territorios son la contraparte para conseguir la paz? Los territorios del 67, los del 48. Cuarto, Jerusalén. ¿Por qué los palestinos no tienen derecho al retorno, como sí que tienen derecho los judíos según la ley judía? Nuestro interviniente ha denunciado la existencia de un doble lenguaje, el dirigido a la comunidad internacional y el dirigido a los palestinos. También se ha planteado la cuestión de qué se puede hacer al nivel de Naciones Unidas, si es posible alguna próxima resolución que dinamice el conflicto. La cuestión de Hamás, de quién es el interlocutor, qué hacemos cuando Hamás está también presente en la sociedad palestina y Hamás no reconoce a Israel, Israel no reconoce a Hamás, lo considera una entidad terrorista. Finalmente, ¿qué posibilidades de éxito tiene esa iniciativa francesa? Y si la Unión Europea, denunciada por su ineficacia en los anteriores discursos, a partir de ahora puede tener alguna chance, alguna posibilidad de emprender con cierta energía una iniciativa de paz. Muchísimas cuestiones complicadas, definiciones. ¿Interviene usted primero, señor Vilín? Primero, señora Sassón. Vamos con usted primero. Okay. Después, si hay más cuestiones, hacemos otra. Adelante.
Okay, about the role of the United States. Well, this is to try to think about something that didn't happen yet, Nobody knows what the American policy might be. In my opinion, I don't believe that in one day America stop support Israel in all the ways that America supports Israel. As you know, in many, many ways. Of course, military support and economic, diplomatic, whatever. There might be some changes that I can't predict, and I don't know. About the price of the peace that I talked about, I could refer only to what I said. In my opinion, the Jewish people, as it was recognized in 1947, the Jewish people recognized by the United Nations Resolution 181, the Jewish people has the right of self-determination in the land of Israel, although the Palestinians have the right to have their own state. Therefore, the only solution that could be between the two people is separation, which means that no one could hold the whole territory for itself, which means that there are borders of the state of Israel, the 67 borders that I believe that the majority of states in the world accept that. I just wanted to remind you that on 2012, the Palestinian Authority approached the United Nations and asked for recognition in 67 borders. So I believe that the Palestinians of today, representing whatever they are in the West Bank at least, they recognize that the borders of the future state of Palestine would be 67 borders, in my opinion, with changing of parts of the land with Israel with consent. About the right to return of Palestinians, I don't support this right because I believe that if we will accept that, it would be the end of the state of Israel. You know that very well. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that the price of peace is achieving an agreement to the Palestinian refugees, mainly by a way of compensation. What can be done on international level, I would like to keep this answer to Yossi Beilin. About the Hamas, Hamas is a huge problem for the Palestinians that they are divided. The PLO control the West Bank and Hamas control Gaza Strip. When you are dealing with Hamas, the PLO believes that you weaken them and the other way around. I agree that the government of Israel didn't contribute to the reconciliation between Hamas and Palestinian PLO. But I don't think that was a very strong attempt by the Palestinians to keep this reconciliation agreement. In any event, this situation is extremely difficult for the state of Israel with a separation between the Palestinians. And therefore, I believe that if there is a leader in the West Bank at least that can represent the people in the West Bank, that there are approximately 3 million people, I would have done an agreement with him. I'm ready to do an agreement with everyone in the area, including if Hamas is ready to recognize the state of Israel and make an agreement with Israel for peace, I'm ready to do that. Some other agreements with Hamas, I believe that we have, although they are not spoken. Thank you.
Well, about the Americans, I think that their good relationship with Israel is an asset which should be used by them in a better way, rather than withdrawing from this support, which I don't suggest. They can say, hey, kids, we support you, and we expect you to do something about it. For example, in the agreement which was signed a few months ago, about $38 billion, I think, for 10 years, I admit that I thought that just beforehand, Mr. Obama will tell Mr. Netanyahu, I'm going to give you this amount of money, and we should have a general agreement about the future, about whatever, and for whatever reason he did not do that, which makes me much more skeptical about the prospects for him going for a very bold step right now. I'm personally doing whatever I can, talking to people around about such a possibility of recognizing the Palestinian state in the UN, but I doubt. I don't know why, but I doubt whether he is there to do something like that. Maybe, I mean, I'm sure that his heart is in the right place, and I would have voted for him for a third term had it been possible. First, for me to vote for him, which is not, and then for him to get a third term. But still, I mean, what he did about the Palestinian problem is something which I don't understand. I don't understand why was he so passive eventually about this problem. About the territory, you should know, you are asking the right people, because we are committed to the Geneva Initiative, which was translated here to Spanish. And there are no people in the world who are more concrete about the territory. So we agreed with the Palestinians that the Palestinian state will be on the whole territory of 67, while the territorial swap, the land swaps, would be on 2.25% of the land, so that Israel will annex this 2.25%, but compensate land in the same amount to the new Palestinian state, okay? So this is the answer, the very concrete answer to your question. It is not a poetic answer. It's a very, very concrete one. This is the right wing. Now, about your message, you said that you were born in 48? 45. Okay. You know, we are not becoming younger. And we can continue and do this kind of bickering, because we are very good in bickering. We can blame the Arabs blame us, and we will both be right. Because there are many reasons to complain about us, and some reasons to complain about the Palestinians or the Arabs for missing opportunities. What you are doing, which I can understand. I mean, I understand the plight, I understand the problems, I read enough about it, and I have many friends who are refugees. What you are doing it reminds me the way the right wing in Israel is referring to Palestinians. They are always blaming the peace camp in Palestine, people like Abu Mazen, for the wrongdoings of Hamas. Now, for Abu Mazen, poor Abu Mazen, Hamas is the biggest enemy, right? The biggest enemy. But Israelis are saying, oh, you are having double talk. You are all the same Palestinians. You want the same thing. You want Jews to evaporate. And poor Abu Mazen says, no, you know, I want peace. I will never go back to Safad, although I am a refugee. I understand you. I understand that you cannot send endless refugees to Israel because then it will not be a Jewish and democratic state. No, they say in the right. You don't really mean it. We know your people. We know your dreams, even if we don't participate in them. We know exactly what you want. This attitude, my dear friend, this is exactly the attitude which brought us to the current situation. Believing that on the other side, all the people are the same. Even if we were killed, even if we were threatened, even if we paid a crazy price for our fight for peace, not because we love you, Not because of you, because of us we did it. Because we believe that we need very good neighbors. Because we believe that wrong things have taken place in our region and that we have to repair them. This way or another. And this is why we went to Geneva. This is why I went to Oslo. This is why I'm ready to go everywhere in going to have peace. When you are coming here and saying, oh, Yossi, I know you people. You are talking here in English, your broken English. Then you go home and speak Hebrew. Then you talk to Arabs and speak Arabic. And then you give everyone the message they like to hear. Then you are actually putting an end to the only chance that both of us have, rather than creating the coalition of the people who understand better each other. Not enough, perhaps, but better. And understand that their future is only in peace and in a solution. Once you say you are all the same, this is the end of the story. So I understand your sincerity, and I suggest to you, if you are coming to such a place of tres culturas, it means that you believe that eventually the only solution is a peaceful one. If this is what you believe in, don't try to paint us all in the same color. Because in no society in the world, people are the same. Not on the Palestinian side, not on the Israeli side. And the whole wisdom is to find your allies on the other side. This is what we have done in the last generation. And I suggest to you to join us. Thank you.
Pues por cuestiones de tiempo no podemos dar más palabras a ninguna otra cuestión. Vamos a recordar que por la tarde va a haber otros dos debates muy interesantes. El primero, que es a las 4:30, cuando vamos a reanudar la discusión, será sobre qué mejorar en el mundo árabe, estudios de casos Siria, Irak, Libia y Yemen, con Emilio González Ferrín, James Dorsey y Jason Pack. Y la sesión segunda de la tarde, a las 6:30, será Royal Note Taken, estudios de caso Marruecos y Túnez, con Judaifa Misian, Michal Beshir Ayari y Thierry Desrues. Muchísimas gracias, señor Beilín, muchísimas gracias, señora Sassón, muchísimas gracias a todos ustedes. El debate se queda corto, es una motivación también para que la Fundación vuelva a convocar el conflicto, que el conflicto vuelva a estar en la agenda mediática y en la agenda intelectual, porque no habrá paz en Oriente Próximo sin una solución a la cuestión Palestina-Israel. Muchísimas gracias a todos ustedes por su participación. Gracias.